the heart of this nation, under skies so blue,
there's a spirit that's stirring, values strong and true.
from the mountains to the prairies, from the cities to the sea, we stand for liberty, for faith and family. We're diving deep into the heart of what we believe.
All right, so you guys sent in this Metro News piece about the Kidflix network, and wow, this one is rough.
Yeah, unfortunately, the dark web side of things is always going to be tough. But this Kidflix network, it's one of the largest dark web child exploitation networks ever discovered.
Yeah, it's truly disturbing to see a headline like that, one of the world's largest dark web paedophile networks, and to think that there's, 1.8 million registered users of this thing over the last 5 years, 72,000 videos documenting this horrific abuse.
It's those numbers, right?
Yeah.
It's one thing to hear about child exploitation, but when you hear that there's 72,000 videos and 1.8 million users, it's like, how can something of that size even exist? And for so long, too.
Yeah, and think about it. 1.8 million users, that's like a city the size of Glasgow, all participating in this network. It's just wild.
And it really shows you, the size of the problem, right? When you're talking about those kind of numbers of people consuming this content, it really emphasizes the importance of what we're doing here, trying to understand these operations and how they work.
Yeah, absolutely. And how law enforcement can even begin to tackle something of that size.
For sure. It's definitely a global issue. And that's exactly what we saw here. This wasn't just one country dealing with this. This was a massive international effort, 36 countries, actually.
And this whole thing was under the leadership of German authorities, right?
That's right. Germany really took the lead on this one. They called it Operation Stream. They actually dismantled this network just last month on March 11th.
Oh, wow. So this is very recent.
Very recent, yeah.
Yeah.
And they've been investigating Kidflix for a while. It was actually established back in 2021. So
it was active for around 4 years?
Yeah, about 4 years, which is, a long time for something like this to be going on. And the thing that really stuck out to me in the article was that the site, it had one purpose and one purpose only.
Yeah, it was very explicitly for the sexual exploitation of children.
That's right. It wasn't like some of these other dark websites where you might have like a mixture of things. This was just child sexual abuse material. That's it. And the fact that they had 72,000 videos, I mean, just where do you even begin with that, right?
It's hard to even fathom that amount of material.
Yeah, it's just a staggering amount of abuse that was being facilitated through this one platform.
Absolutely. It's just mind-boggling. And so far, they've arrested 79 individuals, but they've identified over 1,400 suspects. So it sounds like this is just the beginning.
Oh, yeah. This is just the tip of the iceberg, I think. They've made some progress, sure, but there's still a lot of work to be done to track down all the people involved in this network.
Absolutely. And the article mentions that some of the people who were arrested, they weren't just accessing this horrific content, they were also abusers themselves.
Yeah, that's a really important point. We're not just talking about people who are, passively watching this stuff. Some of these individuals were actively involved in the production of this material.
And the article gives a couple of really specific examples, and I have to warn you, this is pretty disturbing, but they talk about a 36-year-old man who actually offered his young son for games.
God, it's just sickening to think about. These are real children, real families being torn apart by this.
Yeah, and they also identified a serial abuser in the U.S., so this is a global problem with real-world consequences.
Absolutely, and, it's happening all the time. The article mentions that an average of 3.5 new videos were being uploaded every hour.
Wow.
And a lot of these videos, investigators had never seen before, so it's not like this is just old material being recirculated. This is ongoing abuse being documented and shared on this platform.
It just makes you think about how difficult it must be for law enforcement to stay ahead of something like this, with new content constantly being created and uploaded.
Yeah, it's a huge challenge. And, Kidflix wasn't just some disorganized collection of files. This was a very sophisticated operation. They actually had a token system in place.
Oh, really? Like a cryptocurrency or something?
Kind of. Users could buy tokens using cryptocurrency, which gave them access to the videos. But the really messed up part is that they could also earn tokens by contributing to the network.
What do you mean by contributing?
So they could categorize videos almost like they were, moderators on a regular website, except obviously the content here is horrific. Or even worse, they could upload their own abusive material.
So essentially, the more you participated in the network, the more access you got.
Exactly. It was a way to incentivize participation, to keep the content flowing and keep people engaged.
It's a really disturbing way to build a community, to reward people for participating in this kind of abuse.
It is. It just shows how calculated and organized these networks can be. And it makes you wonder, how did something like this stay under the radar for so long?
Yeah, how did they manage to operate at such a large scale without being detected? It's pretty remarkable.
Well, I think part of it is just the nature of the dark web itself, right? It's inherently designed to be hidden and difficult to access. But it also speaks to the sophistication of the Kidflix operation.
Yeah, it's clear that this was not just some random group of individuals. This was a well-organized group with a clear plan.
Absolutely. And the fact that they were able to dismantle it is a huge accomplishment. Guido Limmer, the deputy head of the Bavarian Criminal Police, he actually called Operation Stream one of the biggest blows against child pornography in recent years, if not ever.
Wow, so this was a really significant operation.
It was, yeah. And, it's important to remember that this isn't just about taking down websites and arresting people. It's about protecting children.
That's right. Catherine DeBall from Europol, she made a really powerful statement about this.
Oh, what did she say?
She said, "Some attempt to frame this as merely a technical or cyber issue, but it is not. There are real victims behind these crimes, and those victims are children."
Yeah, she's absolutely right. It's easy to get caught up in the technical details of how these networks operate. But we can't forget that there are real people being harmed.
And she also talked about how online child sexual exploitation is a borderless crime, right?
Yeah, that's one of the biggest challenges with this. The internet allows offenders to connect with victims and other perpetrators from all over the world, regardless of physical location.
So it requires international cooperation, which is exactly what we saw with Operation Stream.
Absolutely. And it's good to know that they're not just focusing on arrests, they're also actively working to safeguard children.
Yeah, the article mentioned that German authorities intervened 96 times to protect children during this operation.
Wow, that's amazing. They were actually able to stop ongoing abuse in 12 instances and protect a total of 39 children.
It's good to hear that they're having a real impact, saving children from these horrific situations.
Yeah, it's a small victory in a much larger fight, but it's definitely something to celebrate.
Absolutely, and the article also gives some information about the suspects who have been identified.
Oh yeah, what do they say about them?
Well, most of them were between the ages of 20 and 40, with an average age of around 31.
So fairly young then.
Yeah, and the oldest user was in their 70s, which is, pretty surprising, I guess.
The youngest.
The youngest was actually born in 2006, so they were just teenagers when they started using this network.
Wow, that's disturbing. It just shows how young people are being exposed to this kind of content.
Yeah, it's a really worrying trend. And the article also mentioned that most of the suspects were longtime darknet users.
So they knew what they were doing? They knew how to access these hidden parts of the internet?
Exactly. So to sum it all up, this Kidflix network was a massive operation with 1.8 million users and 72,000 videos of child sexual abuse material. It was sophisticated, organized, and incredibly harmful.
Yeah, and it's a reminder that this kind of abuse is happening all over the world on a scale that's difficult to even comprehend.
And while Operation Stream was a significant victory, dismantling this network and rescuing children, it also raises some really important questions.
Like what?
Like, how did something this big go undetected for so long? What does this tell us about the hidden parts of the internet and the challenges of policing these online spaces?
Yeah, those are important questions. And I think it also makes you wonder what more can be done to protect children from online exploitation.
That's a really important question and one that we all need to be thinking about.
Absolutely. This is a global problem that requires a global solution.
So this deep dive has been really informative, but it's also been incredibly disturbing. It's a reminder that the fight against child exploitation is ongoing and that we all have a role to play in protecting children.
Yeah, we can't just ignore this issue. We need to be aware of the dangers, educate ourselves and our children, and support organizations that are working to combat child exploitation.
And if you see something, say something. Report any suspicious activity to the authorities. We all have a responsibility to protect the most vulnerable members of our society.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's up to all of us to create a safer online environment for everyone, especially children.